Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another edition of Broom Brothers, the official podcast of the curling group. And the Grand Slam of curling and the Olympics are just on the horizon. It is our final Olympic preview episode. As you listen to this, we are well underway in the mixed doubles tournament. We're recording this before the mixed doubles tournament starts, so no idea what exactly is going on there, but it is Olympics time. Hopefully you've been enjoying the mixed doubles, and we are going to preview the final four teams in our extensive 30-team Olympic preview series here on Broom Brothers. And of course, I could not do it without my good friend, my man who I've heard tell just dominated his big Tuesday night rematch last week. It is, of course, Robbie Doherty.
Yeah, it's good to be here, and it was a team effort. Let me tell you, our club championship's less than 2 weeks away. We're right where we want to be, John, and that's what this show's about, is it not?
That is exactly what it's about. It's about teams peaking at the right time.
Oh, Ryan Giddens throwing it like it's 2016 again. It's just everything's lining up for us. So very happy with that. Thanks for the shout out. Our sponsors will appreciate that too.
Hey, of course, anytime. I know it was a big rematch for you last year's club finals. And you got the upper hand, so it's got to give you a lot of confidence going into the club championships.
It does. I think we're right where we want to be. And Shane McDonald on that Dennis Watts team, I know he's a big listener to this show. So Shane, please don't smash your stereo system in the truck if you're listening to this. And but yeah, it was a good outing, and full of confidence right now. And but it's curling. Games are played on the ice, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, anything can happen, no doubt about it. Just got to go out there, muck around in the corners, give 110. As everybody knows, this is, of course, a big Olympic preview because we are finally getting to Team Canada. We are also getting to one of the clear favorites on the men's side of the bracket in Bruce Mouat. We are going to be recapping, or rather previewing, Teams Great Britain and Teams Canada on the men's and women's side. But before we get to that, a reminder, this episode is brought to you by Goldline Curling, and Robbie and I we're officially matching once again. If you're watching this on the YouTube video, we've got the True North hockey hoodie on, which I heard rumors, Robbie, and maybe, pardon me, you know more about this because you live in Atlantic Canada, but I heard a rumor that at the trials, this particular piece of clothing sold out, like almost an instant sellout.
Well, I didn't hear that, but I'm not surprised. Having it now for about a week, it's been worn quite a bit.
Yeah, it looks like a hockey jersey. It's sort of got the like cuffed sleeves. We got the tie up at the top. We got the there is a hoodie here, and then of course it's got the beautiful Canada logo on it.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, I don't know if I know it's a hockey hoodie, but I call it more of a shoveling hoodie. This is extremely warm, very comfortable, a lot of room in it. So with our Atlantic Canadian storms, 10 more centimeters last night, by the way. It's great for shoveling. I just throw it on, get out there. I'm comfortable the whole time, listening to my curling podcasts as I shovel our daily 15 centimeters of dumping of snow. And I'm a big fan of it. So thank you, Goldline.
Yeah, thank you, Goldline, for that. Of course, the Olympics are already underway, but the Fours tournament is just about to get underway. If you want to show your support for Canada, all of the official on-ice and off-ice Olympic apparel is through goldlinecurling.com. You can get jackets. You can get the hockey hoodie, which is back in stock. You can get crew necks, t-shirts. They've got it all for you, so check it out at goldlinecurling.com, the choice of champions. All right. If you have not listened to an Olympic preview episode yet, we will follow the same format as all the previous ones. We're going to preview four teams. As I said off the start, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you their current world ranking. Then I'm going to give you their ranking according to doubletakeout.com. That's a website run by college basketball writer and huge curling fan Ken Pomeroy, who gives kind of a different ranking. He takes into account strength of opposition and sort of does it in a different weighting system. And I find it's very accurate. So we're going to give you that. We're going to then also shift over to Shoreview Analytics as they have the inside scoop. They're the analytics provider for Curling Canada and for CBC. And so we're going to give you some percentage chances that they may win the whether a team will win or not. So that's all the information that's going to be coming at you, and then Robbie and I will talk about each team individually. So we're going to start with the Great Britain women, and it is team Rebecca Morrison. They are currently ranked number 20 in the world. Ken Palm all over on Double Takeout has them at number 18. Their record this season, 28-21. Shoreview Sports Analytics doesn't love their chances, has them at a 0.7% chance for gold and a 14.9% chance at the playoffs. Their best results this year, they made the finals at the European Championships for the first time as a team, which is obviously a great result. They made the finals of the first tier 2 of the season back in London, the AMJ Masters. And that was won by Akue Kitazawa, but they made the finals there. They also made the finals in Stirling at the Euro Super Series in what was a strong field. They've had a pretty good year overall. They've only missed the playoffs in 2 events this season, but both of those events were slams. Haven't maybe had the record against top teams that they would like. Robbie, what can you tell me about team Rebecca Morrison?
I like this team. I don't necessarily think we're going to see them on the podium at the end of the week, but again, I've been proven wrong many times in my life, to say the least. But we haven't. It's a team that we haven't seen very much of this year. I really noticed them in Tahoe though, and I think I called I forget who they were playing. I think it was Team Ha, but it was a very, very good game, kind of back and forth. And a couple times, I find, this is just a personal observation, no analytics to back this, or this is not scientific. But I just find sometimes you see those teams who are sort of sneaking in the slams, bottom half, that sort of thing. And they keep it close for a few ends, but then they get behind and then they just they trade ones and lose the game. Do you know what I'm kind of trying to get at?
Yeah, for sure.
I find this Morrison team has a lot of fight. They're very scrappy, especially Rebecca, who throws the last rocks. She doesn't call the game, but throws. And I think that's a great position for her.
Yeah, Sophie Jackson calls the game and throws lead, I believe.
She does, yeah. And I think what I was going to say is I think it's one of the teams that one of those unusual kind of formats in their lineup. I think it works really well for them. Rebecca Morrison is a very high-strung, kind of intense player. I mean that in a good way. She's just got a lot of fire, and I think her sweeping those rocks, it just seems to get her more involved in the game, maybe puts out some more physical energy, and almost calms her down a little bit when she gets up to throw those last stones. And she's a really good shooter. It was fun to call their games on the Rock Channel when the microphones are always live because
they're characters for sure.
Oh yeah, you might have to put a PG-14 rating on the games, but I love that, and I think it's a team with a lot of fire. But I think we can echo some of the comments that we've said about some other teams so far, kind of like Ramsfjell from Norway, where they're a great team. I just don't think 2026 is going to be the event where we see them on the podium, but they'll be a nuisance and a pain in the ass for a lot of the top teams.
Yeah, I think you're on the money there. They're still pretty young. Rebecca's 29, so not hard to imagine that this is sort of a building Scotties, if you were, and some of her teammates are younger than that. I think for me, again, it would be similar to Ramsfjell and similar to some of the teams that we talk about that we maybe think of as being on sort of the bottom half of the draw, as it were. They struggle against the top teams, and I think that's going to be a pretty big problem for them. If you look at Double Takeout, Ken Palm organizes their records in their games against teams ranked 1 to 10, their games against teams ranked 11 to 25, and then against teams ranked 26 plus. And Morrison is a combined 10 and 18 against the top 25. And so when you consider that, and you also consider that basically every team in the Olympics is in the top 25, and they have a losing record against them, that's. I mean, I'm not an expert at math, but I think you can kind of put it together there. They're one of the lowest ranked teams coming into the field, even by World Curling Tour rankings. They're ranked number 20. And I believe the only team currently ranked below them is Stefania Constantini at 29. So So, they're coming in as sort of the second lowest ranked team. And then when you back it up with, they're only 28-21 on the year, a lot of those losses are coming to the top 25. I also think too, we've talked about this before, but with other teams that are in a similar situation, but Jen Dodd's one of the favorites in the mixed doubles field. And she also has a gold medal from 2022. She's the third on this team. You just kind of wonder if she has a really good mixed doubles run and things don't go that well for Team Morrison to start the event. Like, is it sort of in human nature to just be like, well, I got my gold medal. I also have a gold medal from 2022. It is what it is, and obviously Jen's a competitor. I'm not suggesting that she would ever think that on purpose. I just think, again, it's human nature to kind of say, like, does her being one of the mixed doubles favorites, but then playing for a team that's not one of the 4-player favorites, does that affect her mindset at all?
I don't think so. I mean, sorry, that's just my opinion. I can see how people would construct that opinion and believe that, because I think it's something that is certainly likely could happen. But I just think if you put any of these athletes who have trained so hard, worked so hard at the Olympics, they're going to be there 100%. Their mind is going to be in it. They're physically going to be there. Jen Dodds is one of the most fit athletes on tour. Very strong. I don't see that issue for them. I could see it for some other players, perhaps, who aren't as, literally physically fit or don't work as hard at it. But Jen, to me, is just one of those players where I just think she's going to show up and be 100 every time she's on the ice, no matter what event it is. I'm also laughing in my head about how that comment could totally age amazing and you look like a prophet or so bad.
Well, I think the thing for me that the only thing that would kind of give me pause about all of that is she did kind of focus on mixed doubles over the 4s. They had an invite to the players and they turned it down. Yep. And one of the main reasons they turned it down was because of Jen's mixed doubles schedule. She was playing, played in Sweden and then played another mixed doubles event like right after when the players would have been, like, played in Sweden over the Christmas break, then would have had to go right to the players, then would have had to go right to another mixed doubles tournament. And then obviously right into mixed doubles camp. So I get why she might have said no to the players. However, her partner, Bruce Mouat, her mixed doubles partner, he did that. Like he sucked it up and went to the players. And so did a lot of the other players who we're going to see in the mixed doubles field, like Yannick Schwaller, et cetera. So to me, that would just be the only thing that gives me pause. Again, not putting anything on Jen. And maybe that's coming from British curling too, right? Like,
sure.
I mean, we just saw Rachel Homan was kind of told she wasn't allowed to play in the Scotties by Curling Canada. So maybe that's coming from British curling, but that would give me a little bit of pause of like, guys, you know what? Sorry. I got a better chance of winning mixed doubles. I'm going to be focused on that. So that would give me a little bit of worry, but I agree with what you're saying. Jen is a great athlete. I don't think from a physical perspective, it's going to be a challenge. I just wonder if mentally, especially if mixed doubles goes well or goes really poorly, you kind of go, oh.
Well, I wonder a little bit too for some of those athletes, not just Jen, but if it's going to be an advantage, like just being out there, being used to the conditions, being used to that atmosphere. I don't know if they're using the same rocks or not for mixed doubles.
I don't think so. I feel like I heard they're switching them. Maybe
I was going to say I would doubt it that they would, because that would be a big advantage.
Yeah,
for some teams,
they're changing the rocks. Yeah,
but even still, just being there, just having that week under your belt, it just adds that little bit much more comfort. So I don't know. As someone who's certainly never going to see the ice at the Olympics, I couldn't tell you, but it will be fun to watch out because it is a great point. It's certainly, if the train goes off the tracks or if they win it all, it's an emotional either high or low, and it'll be fun to see how some of those players bounce back. But this team, I think they're in tough this week. I think they're a great team. I think they've got great things ahead of them, but I just don't think this is it. Milano Cortina.
Yeah, I agree. And I agree with your earlier point. Like, they're another team in this field where you could see them winning big games, right? Like you could see them beating a top team in this event. Now, does that mean if they beat the top team, they're going to go crazy and win the whole thing? No, I don't believe that. But is there a world where they upset Rachel Homan or Silvana Tiranzoni or Anna Hasselborg? Yeah, totally. They're
Yep.
That's well within their capability. So let's get to our best finish and our worst finish. This is how we cap all of these off. If everything breaks right for them, they have a great week. What do we think is the best they could do? And conversely, if everything kind of goes wrong, it's really not a great week for them. What is their worst possible finish? Robbie, I'll let you go first.
I'm going to be a little bit hard on them. I think their best finish is 5th. I just don't see them in the playoffs. Do I think they're capable of it? Potentially, yes. But I just don't personally see it happening for this one. So I'm going to say 5th because I do think they could finish on top of that kind of non-qualifying group. But I just don't see them in a medal game. And for their worst finish, I'm going to go 9th. I don't see them in 10th. I just think they're too good to finish in the bottom. But 9th, I think that would be my lowest point for them.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, fair. I think I'm going to be harsher on them, actually. Just because I think, I think they haven't really proven that they're an upper echelon team. To me, they don't have the kind of records that might suggest that. They haven't played a ton either. I'm looking at Madeline Dupont, who's played 86 games this year, and Rebecca Morrison has played 49. You just look at stuff like that where you're just like, they've been in more situations. Silvana Tiranzoni has now played 74 games on the season. Rachel Homan's played 61. They haven't played a lot for me. And they haven't, this quad, it's not like they've been unbelievable. They were 20th to end the year in 2025 on double takeout. They were 27th in 2024. For me, I think their best finish is 6th, and I think their worst finish is 10th. Okay. I don't see them in the medal round, and I think they're going to struggle against, like I said, they're the second lowest ranked team in the field. So I think if you're finishing 6th, you're talking about you're beating a couple teams that are close to you in the world rankings, like DuPont and Constantini, and maybe you get one upset, and that's kind of your best result. But I think it's going to be a tough week for them, I think. Okay, time to move over to the powerhouse, the Canadian legend herself, the 2-time defending world champion, Rachel Homan. She is the world number 1. She is ranked number 1 on double takeout. Her record this season is 49 wins, 12 losses. Shoreview puts her gold medal chances at 42.5%. Puts her playoff chances at 90.4%. Her best results this season are a lot of wins. She won three slams, won the Masters, the Canadian Open, and the Tour Challenge. She also won the PointsBet Invitational. Of course, she also won the Olympic trials. So some big results for her. I think the only questions maybe for Rachel Homan is that this year hasn't been quite as dominant as her previous 2 seasons, which is crazy to say when she has an 80% winning percentage. But it has been just slightly worse year than her last 2, where her winning percentage was in the 90s. But Rachel Homan doesn't really need any introduction. Robbie, talk to me.
I don't really know what to say. You just what was her playoff? 90.4%.
90.4%. Yeah.
And I if anything, I think that's low.
Right.
No, I'm joking, but the numbers.
It's the second highest in the field. Shoreview actually has Tiranzoni's chances of winning gold as lower, but Tiranzoni's chances of making the playoffs as higher. Interesting. Yeah,
that is interesting. I think out of any team on the men's or women's side, I think their destiny is in their own hands. If they play their best, they're going to win. If they don't, someone might beat them. Tiranzoni, as we mentioned, obviously are the next kind of team down on the list, and they've been on the upward trajectories we talked about in our previous episode. But man, oh man, if this team shows up like we expect them to, and they're firing on all cylinders, I just don't see who beats them when they're sharp, especially Tracy at 3rd. Not that she's been struggling by all means, but I just find when she's like red hot, that team is just the closest thing to unstoppable I've seen in modern sports. I think you'd agree with that. Everyone at their position just dominates that position. They're just literally a team that I just don't see a weakness. I don't see a chink in the armor. I don't see any kind of loophole to kind of sneak something around them. They're just so unstoppable when they're red hot. We all know what happened to Rachel in 2018. I think she's got that out of her system. I think she's been waiting a long time to get back on this Olympic stage. I think she's got a little chip on her shoulder. I think she's got a point to prove. And man, oh man, I would not want to be on the opposition against that team this year.
Yeah, to me, I think that's the biggest question mark for Homan. I really like what you said. If they play the best, they will win. I agree with you. It's just, will they play their best? Because Rachel Homan has not had her best game at an Olympics.
No, I agree.
She's been to 2 of them, and she's missed the playoffs both times. Yes, one was mixed doubles, but that's the question, right? It is the Olympics this bugaboo for Rachel. Does she get to Cortina and the pressure gets to be too much? And I think that you and me and most Canadians would like to believe these last 2 years, 2.5 years now, have been so unbelievable and so dominant that we'd like to believe that she's just going to show up and the previous Olympics are not going to matter. But it's sports and anything can happen. And we've just seen a few things, like the last 2 slams, once she qualified out of the Olympic trials, doesn't make the finals. She had made 9 slam finals in a row and then loses the semifinal in Saskatoon, loses the quarterfinal at the Players. Or sorry, I think it's back. I got that backwards. But anyway, it doesn't matter. She lost 1 quarterfinal and 1 semifinal. So a tough kind of run for her. And that's tough for her, quote unquote. Like, obviously use you know what I'm saying, use context. Tough for Rachel, who is at a different standard. But yeah, so, and even in the trials, right? Like, lost to Kayla Skurlik, probably should have lost the first game of the finals to Christina Black. I know the ice was a challenge, but I also think most of us would agree we didn't really see Rachel's best game at the Olympic trials. So again, was it the fact that it was called the Olympic trials get in her head a little bit? I don't know. And I'm not saying this to say that I think this is going to happen, but this is a preview. And that, to me, is something that could happen. And so I think that, for me, is the biggest question about Team Homan. And it kind of dovetails with what you said. It's, are they going to beat themselves? And I really, really hope the answer is no, because not just because I'm friends with Rachel and I'm a Canadian and I want to see us do well, but I really do think she's the best curler of all time. And I just want her to win this gold, and then she can just put a stamp on that. She doesn't even have to play. I know she's going to go another quad, but she wouldn't even have to, And so I want it for her. I want it in her trophy case, but yeah, I think that, to me, is the question for Rachel Homan going into the Olympics.
Yeah, and you raise a good point. You certainly do. I'm not going to kind of just pretend that possibility doesn't exist, that the Olympic pressure could get to them. But I also think that we're dealing with a very different Team Homan this time. We're talking about a team who we just mentioned have sort of struggled this season, and their record is 49-12. Yeah. They've won 3 Grand Slams and made playoffs in all of them. So I think that their level of dominance is just a little bit different than we've ever seen from this team before. While I think that I agree with you that it's true that could happen, I just don't think it will. That's just my personal opinion. I think the Curling Canada has probably done everything they possibly can to set this team up with training, with sports psychologists, mental training, just to help them adapt, get used to that environment, get, as comfortable as they can in that Olympic situation. She's seen it twice now. Yes, here's what I'll say, finally. I think that, yes, it's a possibility, but I highly doubt we're going to see that happen. I just have, not even the Canadian in me, not even the fan, I just seeing this team over the last 3 seasons, I just have that feel. How scientific is this? I just have that feeling in my gut that this is the time we see her go out and truly dominate. And as I said, I think this team just works too hard. That's how I'll leave it. I just don't see, I don't want to say failure in their future, because, you know, if an Olympic silver medal, people would walk through fire for an Olympic silver medal. But, you know, I just don't see a 2-8 scenario from this team, or a 4. I know you don't either, but I just think this team has a better chance than they ever have at being at the top of the podium. And I think it's highly likely that we're going to see it.
Yeah, I think, and also the one thing you point to there that you could point to is their overall record against Tirinzoni. You know, they have had Tirinzoni's number this quad. I think I did the math the other day, and I think I talked about it when we did the Tirinzoni preview. But Rachel in this quad is 19-3 against Tirinzoni. So has had her number in a big way in this quad. And so, you know, if you think Homan is maybe not the best team in the field, then Tirinzoni probably is, and Homan just seems to have a way of beating Tirinzoni. So yeah, I guess the only other thing I would point out is Rachel's record against top 10 teams this year is not that great. They're 12-7 against top 10 competition, while Tirinzoni is 20-8. So, you know, they've had a little bit better of a year against the top competition. But yeah, I think overall I agree with you. It's really just going to be whether or not we see Rachel's best game. And even if we don't see their best game, I do think they are the favorite to win the gold medal. And I think a lot of us would love to see that as just a cap on this sort of imperial run that they've been on this last 2.5 years with the 2 world championships, all of the wins, the slams, etc. It would be a great way to cap it off. So I'll go first because I think you and I are probably going to have the same answer here. And I like to piss you off by having the same answer as you and going first. I think goes without saying, obviously her best finish is gold. I mean, that's a no-brainer, slam dunk. And I just think with the strength of the field, I really don't see a scenario where Rachel Homan misses the playoffs. Now, could she lose a semifinal, get into a bronze medal game, not be able to mentally recover and lose that bronze medal game? I do think that is possible. So I do think their worst finish is 4th. I would say they have a much better chance of winning a medal than finishing 4th. I mean, that also just is, I'm playing the averages at 75% to 25% if you believe they're making the playoffs. But I do think in general, like I would say their chances of being in the gold medal game are more than their chances of being in the bronze medal game, if that makes sense. But yeah, I think gold best finish and 4th is worst finish.
Yeah, no, you read my mind, my friend. I think I was even going to say gold and then bronze is worse, but I do agree with you. I could see that potentially losing a semifinal and having to bounce back, that can be a big obstacle to overcome. So I will agree with you. I'm thinking gold best, 4th worst for Team Homan, and I'm going to lean heavily towards the first option.
Agreed. All right, let's move over to the men's side of the ledger, and we'll start with the Great Britain men, who have a very similar recap to Rachel Homan, as they are coming in as the world number 1. Double Takeout also has them at number 1. Their record on the season is a sparkling 57-12. And Shoreview has the highest numbers of any men's or women's team for gold and for the playoffs. They have their gold medal chances at 49.4%. So they believe almost half of the time, if you ran this tournament 100 times, Bruce Mouat is winning gold, and have them making the playoffs at 95.6% chance. Their best results this year, they've won a couple slams. They won the slam in Tahoe. They also won the Tour Challenge. They won in Swift, which was the slam level field because that was right before Saskatoon. They also won the Euro Super Series in Stirling to start the season, which was also a very good field. So yeah, they really have been the best team this entire quad. They are the world number 1 and world number 1 by quite a bit, I would also say. If you look at like Ken Palm's rankings, he has Bruce Mouat at 11.65 rating and Brad Jacobs at 11.33. But Tirinzoni and Homan are only separated by like 0.08. So you can use that as sort of the measurement of the gap there. But yeah, sort of the clear number one coming in. Is Bruce Mouat going to be able to be number one at the end of the week, Robbie?
I think so. I mean, I think it's very similar, like you had already said it, but it's very similar to what we said about Homan. If this team plays their best, they're probably going to win. They've just been so sharp, especially the last 2 years. Whenever they're all dialed in, whenever they're all kind of on that same level of all really playing at their best, they just don't leave any room for errors for the other team. Now, I do think it's a little bit different on the men's side. I think the men's side of the event is a little bit more kind of average, or sorry, not average, but on par with each other throughout the whole field. Do you know what I'm trying to say? Like, I feel like on the women's side, the best is quite a bit better than the worst compared to the men's.
Yeah, I agree completely. I think for me, it's like Homan and Tirinzoni are on their own tier, and Hasselborg and Gim are on a tier below that, and then everyone else is on tiers below that. Whereas the men, you could argue there's like 4 or even 5 teams that are all kind of on that top tier.
Yeah, but with that said, I should say, I think Mouat, though, is the clear favorite. Like, they are the clear kind of number one team on the planet, in my opinion, based on the last couple of years, just seeing them around the slams. I think Bruce is just, not that he's ever been a bad player, but he's just become such a confident skip. He's so good at keeping his emotions in check. You know, he doesn't let things bother him. He's just kind of that steady Eddie player, but who's also makes everything. And you put Bobby Lammy and Hammy sweeping your rocks, like, you've got a little bit more room for error than a lot of curling teams in the world. And then you've got Grant just being Grant at third. So I don't see the weakness in this team, especially when they're firing. You know, they're going to be ready to go. Now, the mixed doubles question could come in once again. Bruce will be playing, obviously, in the mixed doubles event. So who knows, as we've already discussed earlier on in the episode, how that could affect all the athletes. But Bruce does fall into that category. I don't think it'd be an issue for someone like Bruce Mouat. I think he's just so mentally tough, you know, doesn't let things get to him, stays in the moment so well. And he's just such a friggin' good curler that I'm going to echo the same thing that I said about Homan, that if this team plays their best, I think they're going to win.
Yeah, I think you're not saying anything that doesn't make any sense. I feel like their record against top opposition is also extremely impressive. They're 19-5 against teams ranked 1 to 10, and they're 20-5 against teams ranked 11 to 25. So yeah, I mean, they're a team that when they're at their best, they're as good as anyone. I think the one thing I think about as well is, for me, the gold medal game in 2022 is the best game of curling ever played. I think them and Nicholas Edin played so good in that game. The strategy was at such a high level. Both teams like to play offensively too, so there was lots of rocks in play. Like, it wasn't a sort of, you know, sometimes you see a dominant performance from a team and it just means they were getting a lot of blanks and controlling the scoreboard because they, you know, were making doubles and triples and stuff. But Bruce and Nicholas did not approach that game like that. And so, and they were young, you know, I mean, they were all 25, 26 when that happened. And so for me, you know, they've already been in an Olympic gold medal game, and they've proven that when they're in that Olympic gold medal game, they can bring their best game. And I feel like that's scary, you know, because I think even for Homan and Tirinzoni, on the women's side, like, neither one of them have even been in a gold medal game. So we don't know. We haven't, you know, if they face each other in the gold medal game, we don't know what the pressure of that moment might do to either one of them. With Bruce, we've seen it. We've seen they've gotten to the pressure of that moment and they were unbelievable. So that, to me, I think is the scary factor if you're Canada or Sweden or Switzerland, you know, the competitors in this field, is that, you know, Bruce has proven he can do it, obviously multiple time world champion as well. So pardon me, goodness. So he's played in these top games and he's won them and he's looked ready. And so, yeah, the only concern for me, I think, is this year just hasn't been as dominant as last year, you know, and again, it's the same thing with Rachel. Like, we're talking about insane numbers. I mean, they've qualified in every event they played in this year. But they haven't made as many finals. So, like, they've made 4 finals this year, and they've won all of them, which is great. But last year they were making finals in almost every tournament they were in. And this year they've lost at the semifinal stage quite a few times, in Saskatoon, in London, at the Baden Masters. They played in the Shorty Jenkins to start the year. They lost in the quarters there. And then we just saw them in the players. And I'll say this. I mean, I've been working for the Grand Slams for 2 years. I called that game. It was Bruce Mouat against John Schuster in the tiebreaker. And that is the worst game I've ever seen Bruce Mouat himself play. And it's the worst game I've seen their entire team play. Wow. And that was their last game before they go to the Olympics. Now, does that mean anything? Probably not. But it was almost just like, oh, Bruce is capable of having a game like this. Like, I'm just so used to them being dominant. I saw that game and I went, wait a minute.
He's human?
Yeah, what is this? They can be beaten? That seems crazy to me. So again, it's one game, probably doesn't mean a lot, but when you think about the Players' Championship, that's the top teams in the world all playing each other. They didn't even make the playoffs there, and that's their last tournament heading into the Olympics. So I don't know. Do you think that's a factor at all?
I mean, I think the point is certainly a good one that it could be. My personal opinion is I just like to believe that all these teams are going to be ready to go, firing on all cylinders. They've been training 4 years for this. And we have seen that. Like, I watched that game too. I watched it from the jacuzzi suite at the Roadhouse 52.
Yes. In beautiful Steinbach, Manitoba.
Yeah. And you're right. They were not sharp. They didn't look good. They looked very average, to be totally honest. But I just, like you had mentioned, we saw them in the gold medal game in 2022. They know what it takes to get there. They know what the feeling is like. They know what the distractions are. I just feel like they're going to be ready to go. And I don't see a world where we see that performance in them at the Olympics, if that makes sense. I think they're just too good to not show up with maybe not their absolute best, but damn close.
Yeah. No, I agree. I agree for sure. All right. Well, let's get to best finish and worst finish. I'll let you go first this time. Where do you see Brucey's best and worst?
I'm going to echo your comments with Homan. I think the best they're going to finish is obviously gold. I think they're probably the true favorite to win gold before the event. But I could see a world where they lose that semis and can't bounce back on time and finish fourth. But I don't see a scenario where they don't make the playoffs. So 1-4 is my official prediction, and again, leaning towards 1.
I'm gonna go crazy. I think their best finish is gold, of course. I think their worst finish is bronze. I think Bruce Mouat is on the podium. That's a John Cullen guarantee.
That's really ballsy, John.
I know. I know. I'm very strong. I'm very strong. I'm very mentally tough. I'm brave. I just think they have the type of mental makeup where they would bounce back in any kind of bronze medal game. And I think they just don't lose too many games. They really don't. And in the playoffs, they always turn it on. I really think they're going to be in the gold medal game almost no matter what. But yeah, if they slip in the semifinals, I think they recover to win bronze. And yeah, they're the only team in this entire Olympic preview thing we've done where I think they will win a medal. I don't see a scenario where they don't win a medal. So maybe some will say that's very brave. Some will say it's not average amount of brave, but I'll let you, the listener, decide on that. Now, we have one final team left. Before we get to that, a reminder, this episode is brought to you by goldlinecurling.com. We're going to be talking about the Canadian men. No better place to get your gear. I talked about this before. I know Ben Hebert's entire family is kitted out in Goldline Team Canada gear because I went to the Goldline store and I was basically informed that there was very little Team Canada product left because Ben Hebert had come and bought it all for Christmas presents for his family. So if you want to be locked in like the Hebert family and like many Canadians across the country, head on over to goldlinecurling.com for all your Olympic apparel needs. Plus, of course, they have equipment needs too. I know we're getting towards the end of the curling season, and that's a time where maybe your broom head's looking a little bit dirty, a little dusty. Maybe your shoes are falling apart a little bit. Goldlinecurling.com has you covered. Shoes, brooms, gloves, pants, whatever it is, you name it, they've got it. It's the choice of champions. Head on over to goldlinecurling.com and check it out. All right. Canadian men, Team Brad Jacobs. They are currently the world number 5. after a few missteps in the last couple of slams, which we will get to. But Ken Palm still really likes them. He has them as the world number 2. Their record this season is 39 wins, 13 losses. Shoreview Analytics has their gold medal chances at 28.1% and has their playoff chances at a whopping 86.6%. Their biggest wins this year, obviously coming at the Canadian Olympic trials. That's a very tough field they had to get through. They also won the Pan-Continental Curling Championships, which did feature China, who will be in this field. So at least one of the Olympic teams was there. And John Schuster, who they beat in the final. He won't obviously be the U.S. rep, but he was there too. They also won Okotoks in a pretty strong field. They made the final of the points bet as well, where they lost to Matt Dunstone. But yeah, it's been a season for Brad Jacobs. Maybe hasn't been their best slam season. They haven't made any finals at the slams. There's also a couple factors here, Robbie. Of course, we know Brett is playing mixed doubles, so we've talked about that with a lot of the 4-player teams. Will that be a factor? He's the first Canadian to ever do it. Curling Canada previously had a rule where you could not play both. They changed that rule, and Brett Gallant is the first person to take advantage of it. They're also the oldest team in the field. So does that play a role? Is that a factor in a long week at the Olympics with a lot of pressure? Robbie, where do you see Brad Jacobs coming in to Milano Cortina?
There's a lot of good things to talk about this team. Like I always say that when they're firing on all cylinders, they're a team that you don't want to play against. Like I find that of all the Canadian men's teams that we've seen throughout this quad, when the 4 of them are dialed in and they're playing their best, they were the best team. That's my opinion.
Yep. No, I agree.
Yep. Dunstone, great team. Gushu, they had a couple good years, kind of slid off the last, say, half or third of the quadrennial.
Yep.
And then some other great teams in there as well. But in my opinion, Jacobs was the number 1. Yep. And I remember hearing about this lineup when the teams were all forming, and I said, holy shit, like that's going to be a really good curling team. There's a little bit of everything on it. You've obviously got the shooter and Brad Jacobs. You've got the experience, and I'm not saying that to make an old joke. I'm really not, about Mark and Ben, but they've been around for a long time. They've played everything, not just once, but multiple times.
We learned this week Mark is the oldest Olympian for Canada. Yeah.
But I think, look at Mark Kennedy. Like, I don't think he's due for a old age, knee replacement anytime soon. Maybe curling related, but not. My point is he's still in really, really good shape. I don't think that's going to be a factor for this team. The only thing that I see in this team, and it's just from calling their games, is, it's just, and I know it helps that they've been there before, so it's not going to be new territory, but I just find they have a tendency to let some things get into their heads a little bit at times. Like, when they're winning, sometimes it's great, but then when they're losing, well, the new rules at the slams are no good. And you hear them, talking about it on the blank. I hate this no blank thing. But, last slam when you were undefeated, it wasn't a problem. So I hope that those things don't enter their mind, because I really mean it. When they are, the 4 of them dialed in, they're very, very tough to beat. They're all on the same page. To me, Brad Jacobs, not that he's ever not been a good leader, but he's become such a great leader. Like stepping into that team, that's not an easy thing to do. It's not.
Yeah,
it's not
came
an
in mid-quad. They were already 3rd in the world when they fired Brendan Botcher to bring Brad on. Like, yeah, crazy.
But not even like that. That's my point. Is they fired Brendan Botcher to be their leader. It's not like they brought on a young kid and said, hey, shoot your best, sweep hard, shut up, and you'll be just fine. Like he had to skip. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He had to step into that leadership role. And to me, he has absolutely nailed that. Like he's so in control out there. And I think they're kind of, I don't know what the word is, but their unique personalities, we'll say, outgoingness. I think it just feeds off each other. And there's a lot of confidence between those 4 guys. And when they feed off each other, man, oh man, they are, as I said earlier, very, very, very tough to beat. Very strong. And they work as one, as good or better than anyone in the field.
Yeah, I really like your comment. I do think that at times they have a tendency to get distracted. I think, yeah, you're totally right. But I also think in a weird way, like them kind of being mad about the slam rules is actually good for them going into the Olympics, because it felt like it was like that at the Olympic trials as well, because so they are a team that they like to play a defensive style. No one is we're not telling anything, we're not saying anything here that you don't know if you watch the games. They like to blank, they like to be in control of the hammer. They're going to wait for their opportunities. They're not going to force something. They don't get down very often. And when they're a front runner, they're very, very hard to beat. If you give them, if they start with hammer and they get 2 in the first end, you're in for a long day. And so I think in a weird way, it's like, yes, some of the comments they were making on mic and even after the games and stuff at slams about we don't love the one blank rule and this doesn't work for us and blah blah blah. I think in a weird way it's almost like they're convincing themselves that, oh, it's going to be so great when we go to the Olympics and we don't have to worry about that. We're going to be playing 10 ends. We're going to be able to blank whenever we want to. We're going to be able to keep control of the hammer the way we like to. And I almost wonder if that gives them a weird amount of confidence because they're now playing the type of game they want to be playing. But yeah, I mean, I think what I look at also is last year at the Worlds, they won the bronze. Bruce wins gold over Yannick. They lost to Bruce in that semifinal. They had the best record at the Worlds last year. So if you add up all the games at the end of the week, including round robin, including playoffs, Brad Jacobs had the best record at the Worlds last year. So they've and that's that the Worlds last year is almost identical to the Olympic field. Muscadovitz was there, Romsfjell was there, Retornaz was there, Schwaller was there, Adin was there, right? Like there's very few different teams in the field. I think the only teams that are different, or the only team I think it's actually is just that it's Danny Casper instead of Corey Dropkin. And I believe every other team in this men's field was at the Worlds last year. So when you think about that and you think about the fact that Brad Jacobs had the best record in that field, it's got to give you a lot of confidence going into these Olympics. The only question I was going to ask you is, we are kind of getting suggestions that this would be Ben and Mark's last Olympics. So beside the age thing, because I agree with you, they're both in great shape, and I know they're able, I've heard, to bring their own people to the Olympics. So like their Cairo, who has been their 5th, is going Mike Cayone, and also I believe their physio of choice is also going. So they know how to take care of their bodies, Ben and Mark, at their advanced age, which they're only a couple of years older than me. So
I know I'm just going like this.
It's tough, but anyway, they know how to take care of their bodies. I'm not worried about the physical aspect, but do you think the mental aspect is something? Because we talked about this a little bit with Nicholas Adin, but I think most of the teams in this field, this will not be their last Olympics. Maybe Joël Retornaz, maybe Xu Xiaoming, but I think for the most part, most of the curlers who are playing here are thinking, I've got at least one more kick at the Olympic can. Mark and Ben, I think, are thinking this is it. So is that a positive or a negative for you? Is it neutral? Like, how do you view that, knowing that they kind of know this is their last go at it?
That's a good question. I'm just going to have to speak on personal opinion. I mean, I don't think it's going to make that much of a difference, but I think if anything, it might just help them in a positive way. I think they'll certainly want to make sure they leave it all out there. If this is going to be the last time they ever throw rocks on Olympic ice, something that very, very few people in the world get to do, they're going to make sure that they give it everything they have while they're out there. And, I think it comes without saying that representing your country, no matter what country you're from, at the Olympics is certainly a feeling that never gets old. And Ben, especially, and Mark, I mean, both of them, just in different ways, are both as competitive as people, or of people that you'd ever meet. And I think just being able to compete means so much to them. And if anything, I think it might just help them. I think it might just be one of those kind of life moments that, you know what, this is it. Leave it all out there. See what happens.
For sure. And I think that's a factor. Definitely. I just wonder if you start a little bit shaky, and for Mark and Ben, there's some Olympic ghosts there, right? I mean, they had a chance. They got into the bronze medal game in 2018, lost it to De Cruz after a crushing defeat to John Schuster in the semifinals. Is that a factor? I don't know. It's hard to say. They also have won gold medals, so it's not the end of the world. If they don't win, they're going to be an Olympic gold medalist for the rest of their life. But yeah, that would be the only thing that I would wonder is if they start a little bit slow, does it sort of creep in that, hey, we had an Olympic failure or lack of success, not failure, lack of success 8 years ago. Are we just going down that road again? And shit, maybe we are too old and maybe we just don't have it anymore. Like, I wonder if that creeps in. I hope it won't. I don't think it will, but it's definitely one of the storylines I think for this team to pay attention to. But yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see how they fit in with this whole field. But I think it's going to be a good week for them. I'm excited to watch them play. Robbie, I'll let you go first again. What is your best and worst finish for Team Brad Jacobs?
Well, best, I think it's obviously gold. I think this team is certainly capable of winning. It's funny with I'm going to quote unquote old jokes that we've seen, or old comments about, Mark and Ben being, in the latter stages of their career. It's funny because the first time they played at the Olympics was 2010, I believe.
Yep.
And even just looking back at how curling internationally has changed because of the Olympics. They've lived through it all, right? In 2010, Canada was still that powerhouse.
Oh yeah, and there were free spaces on the bingo card. I mean, France was in that Olympics, the USA was in that Olympics, and they were not good at that time.
No.
China, who were kind of brand new on the world scene, Rui Liu, they were in there. Yep. For sure, it's completely different.
And I dare say 2018 was the first games where it really kind of flipped. Not that I would say the international teams are stronger now than they were in 2018, but that was the first games that I kind of found like, holy shit, the world is friggin' good, really good.
Yeah.
So they've kind of seen both. And I think that, that experience, we always talk about how vital and how important experience is at this level. And I think that's a perfect example of it, is that they've seen both. They know what it takes to win. And if there's 4 guys in Canada who are going to be up for the challenge, it's these guys. So I'm definitely going to give them gold as their best. I'm going to go a little lower for my worst. I'm going to go 5th as their worst. I see them. I just, not even so much as a comment against that team. It's what we had talked about, the difference in the field between the men's and the women's, that there's just more competitive teams around that same kind of skill level that could potentially push them out of the playoffs. I don't think it's going to. But I think the potential is there to not make the playoffs. But if I was a betting man, I'm not taking that bet.
Yeah. No, I like that. I'm maybe just more of a patriot than you, sort of more of a guy who likes Canada more. But no, I'm just kidding. But obviously their top finish is gold. They're certainly one of the names that's in the mix there. And I think their worst finish is 4th. I agree that I do think the men's field is stronger on whole. There are more teams that could beat Canada compared to the women's field. But I just kind of think with, you look at the other teams, like I think there's too many teams that they really, I just expect them to beat 90% of the time in this field. I just don't see a way that they don't get into the playoffs.
Yeah.
Unless it's just, the Olympics does crazy things to people and the wheels fall off. I mean,
highly unlikely.
Highly unlikely, but that's all. It's always in the realm of possibility, right? I mean, we've talked about that. You give your best, you put your best foot forward always with these predictions, and then there's always a team that plays better than you think, and there's always a team that does worse than you think, and that's just the nature of the beast at the Olympics. So, speaking of that, it is now time for the ultimate. We have now previewed every single team in the Olympics. We've given what we think is best finish and worst finish. But now it is time. Robbie, I'm going to put you on the spot. And usually I just let you handle the predictions, but I think it's only fair I also give my predictions. But in a couple weeks' time, when the national anthems are playing and the Milano Cortina Olympics is in the books, who will be standing on the podium? We'll start with the women's. Who do you think is going to win gold, silver, bronze at the Olympics?
Okay, start with bronze. Okay,
sure.
My official predictions on the women's side, winning the bronze medal from Sweden, Team Hasselborg.
Okay.
We've already talked enough about these teams. We don't have to.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. No, just your predictions.
And silver medal after losing a very, very hard-fought gold medal matchup, Team Tirinzoni from Switzerland, and of course, winning the gold, Rachel Homan of Canada. That's my official pick. So Hasselborg, Tirinzoni, Homan, 3-2-1.
I am going to say bronze, Eunji Kim. I don't know. I think they're going to edge out Hasselborg in that bronze medal game. And I did just brag about being a patriot, but and it's so hard because Rachel has such a good record against Silvana, but I love the way Tirinzoni is playing going into this. Like, they're 2 slam wins. They just won the Bernese Cup. Like, this year they look different. And I really hate to say it, but I think it's silver Homan and gold Tirinzoni.
Oh, wow.
It doesn't bring me joy to say that, but I think
No.
That's where I'm seeing it. Also, I just think you and I should have different picks. So that's what I'll fall back on if people really challenge me on it. Well, it's not that interesting if Robbie and I pick the same thing. Okay, men's. Robbie, hit me with your men's podium.
My men's podium in the bronze medal position from Switzerland, Team Schwaller. And that's a hard-fought victory over Team Retornes for the bronze.
Like it.
Yep. Throw that in there because that was my biggest decision, was who would be 3 and 4.
Yep.
In the silver position from Canada, Team Jacobs, and of course on top with the gold, Team Mouat. And I also think that's going to be an absolute classic of a game. Anyone could win, but that's just the way I kind of have a gut feeling of it playing out.
Okay. Just to be different from you,
mm-hmm.
I'm going to go. This is truly because I was going to pick the same 3.
Oh.
So truly to be different, I'm gonna put Adine in the bronze spot. Mm-hmm. Final Olympics for them, for Nicholas anyway. I think we don't know that for sure, but we're thinking. I'm gonna give them the bronze. I am going to give the silver also to Jacobs and the gold also to Mouat. So I'm going to have Schwaller just off the podium. I don't love doing that. I also think, like, to me, the key thing is who has to play Bruce in the semi.
Yep.
Because
absolutely,
you can easily see, like, that's what happened to Canada at the Worlds last year. It was like, oh, you came first in the round robin. Here's your gift. Bruce Mouat lost. Bruce Mouat, for some reason, lost to Czechia and is in 4th place. So you get to play him. So could the gold medal game be Mouat Schwaller like last year's Worlds, or Mouat Adine? For sure it could be. I think if you're one of these countries, you're playing the round robin to just try not to play Bruce in the semis is the way that I view it.
100%.
So, well, there you have it. All the teams done. We previewed all 30 teams across all 3 disciplines. Thank you, everybody, for listening. The feedback has been tremendous. I actually heard, Robbie, I forgot to pass this along to you, but I've heard from a couple reporters who are going to Italy who don't know anything about curling, like they work for like a neutral outlet, who have said that they've used our previews to like help them get familiar with all the teams in the field, which I think is a very that's a very nice compliment.
We should just mess with them.
We should have. You know what? Homan, best finish 8th, worst finish 10th. I just, she hasn't been playing well at all.
Sharp.
Yeah. We start saying countries aren't even in it.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, a lot of people have said how much they've enjoyed these episodes, and we really appreciate it. The Olympics only comes around once every so often. So, once every 4 years. We know exactly when. I don't know why I said every so often. But we will be back, of course, with continuing coverage during the Olympics. We're going to slow down a little bit. I don't think there's going to be an episode every couple of days or something like that, but you'll probably hear from us probably 3 times before, or like including the wrap up. So you'll hear from us a couple times during the Olympics. And then, of course, once it's over, we'll recap everything. So looking forward to being back with you for that. Thanks so much for listening and supporting us. Thanks to Goldline Curling for supporting us. Thanks again to Ken Pomeroy, to Shoreview Sports for all of their help with these previews, and Curling Zone 2, Jerry and the whole team over there. Thank you so much for all of your help in bringing this to life, this sort of crazy idea we had to talk about every single team in the Olympics. We really appreciate it. As always, if you want to see a video of this episode, you can head on over to our YouTube. Another piece of news, Robbie, our YouTube is now over 1,000 subscribers.
Oh, nice.
So that's very cool. So if you're watching on YouTube, maybe hit that subscribe button, get those numbers up for us. And if you want to see what Robbie and I look like, we're dressed the same, but we do have facial expressions while we're doing this podcast. So check it out on YouTube. You can also follow us on any social media platform at the Broom Brothers, and we will see you back here very soon with more coverage of the Milano Cortina 2026 Olympics. Goodbye.